I'll try to find the scene in the story that defines the story. This is the scene where the ultimate expression of what this story is about is taking place. So let's start there. Let's find out what that emotion is. Well, how's the music going to help express that emotion? Because if I can get that, chances are it's going to then inform how the rest of the story needs to be told. Hi, I'm Mark Isham, and I'm the composer of the upcoming film Duck, Duck, Goose and the upcoming series from Marvel, Cloak and Dagger. The television season has started again, so Once Upon a Time, and it's season 7. And then I've got doing this project based on Philip K. Dick short stories called Electric Dreams. I've always been attracted to many different genres. Modern classical music, modern jazz, European jazz, and then of course electronic music. I've never felt that they had to be exclusive at all. I felt that they could all belong together, they should all be mixed together. Even if I'm writing a really classical film score for orchestra, there's always this hint of the harmony of American jazz that I can go to for inspiration. And so storytelling then, if a director says, it starts off in abject tragedy, there's no hope, and then a glimmer comes in from the side. That's all great for me because I've spent years improvising things like that. And sort of make up music that tells these stories is sort of second nature to me. My process is, I should say, it's based on technology. We have in technology today the ability to pretty much create any sound you can possibly imagine. I will look at a story, I will look at the imagery of a show and say, what is the sound of this show? And sometimes I'll just hit 2 notes of a violin or 2 notes of a strangest sound I've ever heard and just watch it against the picture. Does that sound make sense in this world? Analog synths. I've been obsessed with them since forever. I used to clean trumpets for a band instrument store when I was young, and I talked the band instrument guy into putting an ARP in his window, and then when nobody was interested in it, I talked him into selling it to me for $100 a month, which he took out of my salary, and that's how I afforded my very first synthesizer years and years ago. I know that I like a sense of space. I don't like music to be too cluttered. I think complexity and denseness has a very vital place in music, but it's an effect and not a constant. It's used for an emotional impact. I'm not quite sure what the secret of simplicity is. It's why do I love Miles Davis? Because Miles would play 3 notes and another trumpet player might play 7 notes. But Miles played the right 3 notes. So it's always the challenge of, if I'm just going to write 3 notes, it can't just be 3 notes. It has to be the right 3 notes that do a better job than the 7 notes would. I own a lot of Martin trumpets. This is the first one I ever bought, and I still think it plays the best. Well, this is a brand new looping system. I want to try thinking of the trumpet as a solid body guitar, and what can you do with that sound that a guitar player would do with an electric guitar. I decided to do it as if I were a guitar player, and I just got a whole series of guitar pedals and wired them up together, rather than a sophisticated box that does it all in one box. So this is one of the experiments. And then for looping, the Infinity Pictronics, I think, is one of the most sophisticated and user-friendly loopers around. The second synthesizer I bought, I sold the Odyssey and bought this. Again, one could argue, is not really modular, but it is structured like a modular. It has each section is a module. And then I got the Oberheim, which is a series of semi-modulars. I met a guy who used to work for Moog, and he sold me his Moog, which he built in the garage that Moog was building his synthesizers. In fact, there's some original Bob Moog test modules as part of this. Ah, that's right. I think what I love about it is that it's like, well, you know that description of a sculpture is that you take away everything that isn't the tiger? I think what I like about analog synthesis, as opposed to composition, is that here's this box of circuits and it's doing stuff, right? And you have to sort of take stuff away and move it around. heard has been driven by the instruments themselves, sequencers and everything that originate here. So how do you get that all to talk to the other world? This is an ERM multi-clock. The master clock is very, very fast, and you divide it down to whatever you need, so you can have any clock you want based on the timing from the DAW, and you can shift the clock anywhere you want with this. You can divide it, you can shift it, you can get everything tweaked into being perfect time. If I have a score that needs a real theme, like traditional 16-bar theme, oh my God, like an A section and a B section, which are rarer and rarer these days. But if that's actually what's needed, I go to the house. Just grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and I'll go and sit at the piano for 4 days or a week, and I will write in the old-fashioned way of just let's get a song, a theme that plays well. Just you can sit down and play it at the piano and it makes you go, ooh, then you've probably got something. The demo is king. And modern technology allows us to make demos that are almost as good as a final. I use Logic, so it's in a Logic session. The instruments that will be real instruments, there's a sketch made, then they go to the orchestrator. All the electronic instruments I go through and clean up and get each one printed into Pro Tools. The Pro Tools session keeps growing and growing as we add things. And then we have Vienna machines, and that's just for all the sounds. I mean, we have a certain orchestral template that stays more or less the same, but if there's a new library comes out, we go, ooh, let's try that. So it's always evolving, but it's blended all together. I find the best spiccatos, the best colnagnos, and sort of make my own custom thing out of it. In the world of effects, I love the UAD stuff. Heaviosity, rev, signal, those are all in there, certainly for the electronic stuff that we do. The process in this day and age is filmmakers come here, turn on the lights, we turn the chairs around, look at the big screen, and I play what I like to think is very close in approximation of what they will actually get at the end of the day. So the last part of the process ends up in here, Pro Tools system. The room started off originally just as a family screening room, not a bad place for a family movie night. And then my wife and I thought, well, what if we put a computer system in there? What if you could mix on that computer? And it eventually ended up into a full-fledged mixing room. And if we're not at Warner Brothers, we're here. Certainly all the television is done here, all the smaller independent films are done here. There's a part of you that can splurt out ideas. But the problem is there's some other part of you that's sitting right here and saying that's a piece of crap. The editor, right? And the problem is to turn the editor off, at least to get the editor to go out of the room for a while. Because the editor is important. The editor is part of what your personal taste is, right? It decides if you really think it's good or not, and that's an important part of the process. But if the editor is in a bad mood and doesn't think anything is good, then that's kind of writer's block. I used to do this thing in the old days, and of course you can still do it here, is just turn off all the sound and push record and just sort of bang on the keys, right? And then I would turn the sound back up and play it. And of course, 99% of it is terrible, but there might be like 3 notes. Dun, dun, dun. Oh my goodness, that's actually something. And that's not bad. And I did it, and I did it just now. So maybe I can write. Maybe I can have an idea. I think the best advice is just, if you're a composer, you compose. You don't talk about composing, you don't study composing, you don't think about composing, you compose. Just do it.